You are listening to South Niagara Conversations, a podcast presented by the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce, along with 105.1 The River and 101.1 More FM. Here are your hosts, Dolores Fabiano and Scott Lunn.
Right. Well, good morning, and thanks to everyone who's joined us for our South Niagara Conversation series. For those of you who are tuning in from afar, we represent the communities of Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, Port Colborne, Waynflete, Welland, and Pelham. We're located in Southern Ontario, a wonderful place to live, work, and play. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
I'm very well, Dolores. Thank you. How are you this morning?
I'm great. We say it every week. How is it possible that it's Friday already again?
I know the weeks do go by pretty quick, despite being captivated in one's home, but they do go by fairly quickly. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing. I want to give a shout out to our tech sponsor, Brian LaChapelle from B4 Networks. Great technology experts that everybody needs. Brian, how are you this morning?
I'm great. Thank you, Dolores. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. It's Friday after all.
Yeah.
So this morning, we're going to focus on what's been going on in the business community this past year. Chambers of Commerce are still the first point of contact for many things, and we've really had our work cut out for us this past year. We have been on the front line for business. We've been actively responding to local business needs, providing information, resources, programming, and a compassionate ear for the past year. Our memberships are so diverse, which means the needs are very diverse as well. I'm so excited about the guests that we have joining us because they understand what I'm talking about, and I know they're going to provide us with some great, unique insight. We've already had so much fun before we've even gone live. Scott, let's get started. Who do we have joining us this morning?
You bet, Dolores. This morning we welcome John Damico, chair of the Niagara Centre Board of Trade and Commerce, Eduardo Lafforgue, CEO of the Niagara-on-the-Lake Chamber, and Denise Potter, Executive Director of the West Lincoln Chamber. Now, as Dolores mentioned, you're all very well positioned in the sense that you don't represent just one industry, and we've talked about single industries lots on this podcast, but you are actually involved in all businesses within your municipalities, from a touch point standard and from representing and assisting with the different things that you liaison between government and business. So let's get started. First of all, welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us today. And we'll just get a general snapshot of how your memberships have been affected with COVID and over the last year and a bit. So maybe we'll start with you, Denise, if you can kind of give us an idea of how things have looked over this last year.
Well, in terms of membership over this last year, I felt it was extremely important, as did my board of directors, to keep reaching out, touching them, speaking to our businesses, letting them know that we're there for them. And we made a conscious effort to do that back in the early part of COVID. I had a membership committee, and we reached out to all the businesses, letting them know we were there for them, anything we could do for them, even to the point if there were some financial challenges for them, we would give them extended payment terms to help them along, because we totally understand what they're going through. Anything they needed, they could reach out for us. And if we couldn't do something for them, we would find somebody that could.
Right. Okay. Very nice. Eduardo, how about yourself?
Well, on our side, Niagara-on-the-Lake, it's tourism and wineries and culture. And I think that the day we will all remember from here on is the day that the world stopped traveling. And from there on, if I can put in 4 words, it has been open, spend, close, and repeat. And once again, open, spend, close, and repeat. And I will add hope. Hope that we're going to come back, that we're going to bounce back and be once again one of Canada's and premier destinations. So our members have shown resilience, has shown dedication, has shown enormous effort, have done an enormous effort to bring safety, to operate safely. and to have safety for their employees and for the visitors in mind, and they will all reopen as soon as it is safe to do it. So we're going to have challenges, but we will bounce back and we will overcome those challenges as we have done in the past.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, hope the key word there for sure. And John, from your perspective?
Well, here in Thorold, I mean, our members are much like our administrator, Jeanette, keeps in touch with them almost every week, either by emails or phone calls, along with myself. And we bear with them. If they can't pay, we work with them. And we're trying to retain everybody, but there's been a few businesses that have closed in Thorold, but a lot have opened, and our membership chairperson in this time, and you can't go see them or nothing like that. It's hard to get new members, but we have a lot of businesses, quite a few businesses that open in Thorold, and hopefully, when this crisis is over with, I think like what Eduardo said, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back very good, I think, for everybody. We just have to, for now, just be careful and handle it with care and be patient.
Yeah, that whole engagement piece is so important. I know that our chamber in the beginning, like before we locked down the first time, we had started reaching out to every member, just, okay, how are you doing? And everybody was, yeah, we're okay, we're okay, we're okay. And then the first lockdown came, and again, whatever resources we had, we allocated to making those calls and staying connected. And people were like, you know what, we can weather the storm. We're good for a month or two. We'll be fine. No one could have imagined that, a month or two would turn into, what are we on now? 15 months, 13 months? I don't know. I've lost all track of time, but no one could have imagined that we would be in this for this long. And then, once we got past that 2 months, as we were making calls, the story was different. And it was like, yeah, we need help. We need to access some resources. We need, we're not going to be able to make it on our own. And so I will say, there's going to be a lot of blame to go around when this is all over. Hindsight is 20/20, and we could have. But I think the reality is that the government did do the right thing in stepping up and providing incentives and grants for business, because a lot of businesses, and you guys would know this, just as well as I do, are still in business because of those grants, and only because of that. And I don't know if you guys want to speak to that. Are you seeing the same thing when you were engaging your members? Were you hearing the same things? Eduardo, I see you're ready to go.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Dolores. I think it was, the reaction was a very quick reaction. And I know that most of our members, or many of our members, including ourselves, will not be here today if it was not for the wage subsidy, for the CERS, for the CBAP, for all these programs that have been so helpful. Communication has not been always there, and efficiency of communications, but we are all learning, because this is new for everybody, including the government. So yes, kudos to both levels of government for quick reaction and trying to bring some kind of solution. And the proof is that we're still running, and this is just by itself some kind of a miracle. So it's and proof of resilience at the same time. So working together, it seems to be the key to go ahead and to survive and to bounce back.
Yeah, you're right. And you talk about communication. I don't know about you guys, but early on, we were all getting all of this information from, all levels of government, and there was good stuff in there. But our members told us pretty early on, please just stop sending us all this stuff. We're getting it from 100 different sources. We don't know what's applicable to us or what's not. It's just confusing us. There's no value in you just regurgitating everything that you're getting. And so we did stop, and members would call us. So members would call and say, this is my issue. And we would say, okay, so you need to access this, or you need to talk to this, or this is the link that you need to go to get what you need. And that proved to be much more helpful to our members. And I think that's the value of membership with the local Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes, business sets up and, well, why do I need to belong to my local chamber? That's why, because when you really need help, it's not an email that goes somewhere into the abyss. You can pick up a phone or you have a direct email to someone who's going to respond, and they're not going to, like Denise said, if we don't have the answer, we're going to find it for you. And that's really, the value.
It's so true. That value is not really written in the chamber benefits, if you know what I mean. Yeah. That's just something that we extend because we believe it's right, and we're compassionate and we care about these businesses, and they have to feel comfortable reaching back out to us. And for the most part, they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John.
Same here is that with the grants and all that, with Jeanette sends out the information, but a lot of them, we get the same thing, like you said, too much information, too many emails, and it's unbelievable these days and that. But we talked to quite a few people, myself, and I said, listen, if you need help, Frank, and Dolores, Frank from Venture Niagara.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I was talking to him. They said it was going pretty good, and they still had thousands of dollars. Now I haven't touched them for a while yet, but so we pass it on, and a few of our members have taken advantage of it.
Yeah.
With the grants and that. So.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. Eduardo, go ahead.
Yeah, it's when we realize that the enormous amount of information, what we start doing is curating our newsletter. And then at one point, what we did is we came back to a community newsletter in the middle of the week that doesn't talk about COVID. That talks about culture, what is in the theater, what is the concerts that we have, because we are forgotten. All these things are like in the back somewhere because we forgot about them, and so we do the COVID newsletter, but then we came back to that community newsletter, which is so important for the local chambers, because this is what keeps our community connected. This is what keeps our cultural venues connected. So the people know that there is this concert or this play or this event happening, and it's so important. And then the other thing that we have, we're over Zoomized, or we go to so many platforms, too many Zooms, too many GoToMeetings, too many WebEx, too many everything. I mean, I don't know how many platforms I have in my computer right now to jump from one to the other. So we have become very proficient on managing all this, and but yes, we need to relax a little bit and at the same time go back to the community and see what is in the community, what is happening in the community. And this is a value that the local chambers, we bring to our communities, that information, that local information.
That's interesting that you say that, Eduardo. We do the same thing. In the West Niagara, there's 3 chambers that we work very, very closely together, as do we with all the Niagara Chamber Partnership Chambers. But with Grimsby, Lincoln, and West Lincoln in West Niagara, we have teamed together to put a collaborative newsletter that goes out periodically with all the key information that businesses need to know regarding the pandemic, the health, and what have you. But we never lost sight of our own community newsletters that we send out that have that warmth, that feel, that community. And we continue to do that on probably a monthly or twice a month basis, depending on the content that we have. It is important to keep it to that level as well. Mm-hmm.
It's really about getting back to basics. I know that we're doing, some post-pandemic planning now. How are we going to be operating after this, and what are some of the programs that are going to be the most relevant for our members? And in all of it, it's really about engaging, those local communities, engaging volunteers within those local communities. It's about getting on the phones to connect with our members. It's, I've been at this chamber gig for 100 years, it seems, a long, long time. And the things that we used to do, when I first started, probably more like 30 years ago, are the things that we're looking at doing again. And it's kind of funny that, we're looking at those basic things to get us through this pandemic. It's a little strange.
It's cyclical. It's come back.
Yeah. It's so old, it's back in fashion.
I'm just sorry, I'm curious to know, like, you met, slowing down on the emails, going back to basics, but talking about grants, talking about virtual things, Eduardo, I know we have so many platforms now, and I know there's been opportunities to coach people on that and offer up some lessons to members and whatnot. What's been the one thing, if there is one, that you find in each area that the membership has needed help with, has requested during COVID? Maybe John, if you want to start with that.
The one thing I think is that with all the businesses and with the lockdowns, okay, and we encourage our members, please let us know if you are open to curbside, you're open to whatever, the e-blast. We send out a memo almost once a month as a reminder and encourage them to do it, that we're there for them and to help them to promote their business, whether it's curbside or lockdown or, whatever they may do in that. And I say, and we keep in touch with them, quite a few by phone. Jeanette does a lot of phone calls, especially with members that are past, like, the members are due the invoices and that, and encourages them to, like, if you want it, we're not here, we don't need it right away, but if you need help, you want to go on a monthly basis or quarterly, whatever you can. So we're working with them, but but like I said, we say to everybody, it's something it's out of our hands. What can we do? We just got to be patient.
Okay. So. And Denise, in your area, what has been the one thing that you find your members have really, really required help with?
I think because so many of the smaller businesses in particular have struggled. They still need the support of the connections, the business development connections. It's difficult that we can't do it in person right now, but we do offer that virtually as frequent as we believe it should be done. The morning coffee events, we call ours Wake Up with West Lincoln. But we always have an opportunity for the businesses to talk, whether we put them in breakout rooms or whatever, to talk about their products and services and keep that flow going. We don't want to break on that for a year and a half, 2 years until this pandemic has subsided. They have to still run their businesses. They have to still promote their products and services, and they have to stay connected. And that's, I think, the biggest piece that we can offer them.
Yeah. And Eduardo, are you finding the same?
Well, yes, very similar. But if I have to choose one word, it's clarity, helping them to understand exactly what is happening. And this is extremely difficult. We don't have the crystal ball. And when all this started, we immediately went to work into our recovery plan and reopening guide. So by late May 2020, we had our recovery guide. We work with St. John's in New Brunswick Chamber of Commerce, that they were starting their recovery guide. We put it into the website. We had the recovery plan. And then we have to stop and then restart again and readjust. So clarity, I think, it's to understand what is going on and where we're heading. And this is the most difficult part, to say, I don't have the crystal ball. So we need to work together through all this, because we have to readjust everything. All our events, we have keep on planning the events, and we have canceled the events, and then we have rescheduled the events, and then we have canceled against the events. So it's very challenging, but at the same time, we understand that our members need some clarity, because their livelihood depends on the events that we bring to the town. If the show festival has to reschedule the reopening of the season, which they have already done 3 times, well, this is affecting everybody. So, and the interconnection, I think that the pandemic has shown us how much we are interconnected, the interconnection between all of us. And Denise mentioned, and I think Dolores, you did it too, the Niagara Chamber Partnership. And this is something that we are 9 chambers in Niagara, including the ones that are headed by Dolores, but and Denise and John and myself. We also have Greensby, and I don't have the list of all of them, but Dolores, you can in my mind. But we're 9 chambers and boards of trade in Niagara working together to try to achieve exactly that interconnection that we have with the region, and bring to the region not only the local knowledge, but the regional knowledge and that representation at all levels. So the NCP probably is something that we're going to talk much more about NCP in the coming month, and you'll see how effective, and we hope how effective we can be with bringing all that to our members.
Yeah, and I know we have a couple of things coming up that we'll chat about in a minute, but I wanted to answer the question too, Scott. We found that when this first started, we had a number of businesses that weren't set up to sell their products online, didn't have an understanding of digital platforms. So, restaurants that didn't have menus online, or stores where you couldn't order products and pick up. And so they needed a lot of that assistance. And one of the things that we were able to do, again, you talk about collaboration and partnerships. We worked with Brock University, and we were able to, through Brock, get a grant that allowed us to deploy a number of students from Brock to help businesses develop digital platforms. So whether it was getting, an up-to-date inventory list, or a menu online, or a schedule, for curbside pickup, those kinds of projects, we deployed those students into the membership to help do that. And that was fantastic. And we've just heard word that we've been approved for 4 students for this September, again, to do the same. So I know it's still a big issue. And, we talk about the grants that are out there and the loan programs that are available to businesses. And, right now it is a matter of survival. But we are really trying to encourage our businesses to take some time and start planning for when they are able to reopen. Because if they're not in that mode of thinking right now, they won't reopen, right? And so as chambers, I know that all of us have a number of resources and tools that can assist these businesses, but they do have to take the lead and and ask for the help, or at least start thinking in that way, because there are resources that we either all have individually, or we can direct them to. But that was certainly a big issue with a number of our members, Scott, in our South Niagara chambers, for sure.
Yeah.
I have to add to what Dolores is saying. FedDev, Southern Ontario FedDev, has been fantastic, also helping with that, and you're right. Not only restaurants, but cultural nonprofits didn't have their platforms, their virtual platforms ready. So that help that they got, allows them to go virtual and to Bravo Niagara is doing fantastic virtual events. Right now, they have a series of amplified concerts. This is thanks to the grant that they got from FedEp with the help of the chamber. So it's important that and many of these experiences are here to stay. We saw it in the wineries. We saw the virtual tastings, things that were unimaginable a few months ago, happening now, and probably they're here to stay, and hopefully they're here to stay because some of them are very fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. We last week talked to a number of younger people, university and college students, and Scott and I felt really old, but we're not going to talk about that. When I think back to the beginning, right, of this pandemic, we all know how to hop onto Zoom. We can mute, unmute, we can do the basics, but in the beginning, oh my goodness, I guess I should only speak for myself, but what a learning curve. Thank God for people like Brian LaChapelle, who, were able to walk me through a lot of this and help us still to this day because they're such great corporate citizens. But it was a huge learning curve, and it was like, okay, we got to do a Zoom meeting. Well, how do we do that? Okay, well, what do I need to do? How do we invite people? How many people can we invite? Do we have the right version of Zoom? What are the other platforms that we could use? Is this the right platform for us? Will our members know how to use Zoom? There was so much to learn. And I have to say, you know what? I think we all deserve a pat on the back, because the older you get, the harder it is to learn. And we were having some fun with the young people last week, because for them, technology, they were born with it, but we weren't necessarily born with it, and it is it is harder. Anybody else, or is it just me?
No, it's like you said before, 15, 20 years ago, we come back to the basic. It's just that it's being done a different way.
Right.
It's a big learning curve.
Yeah.
It is.
Myself with the Zoom meetings, till last year, I didn't know what a Zoom meeting was, but it's it's for everybody. It's not just us here. It's the whole world. A lot of people I talk to that don't want the mask that they're abusing, for example. I think it's affecting them. It's not affecting. It's affecting the whole world. That's what so.
Yeah.
We can plug on.
So now you're going to hear my dog. My apologies to all the listeners. There's nothing you can do about it.
What's his treat?
We're just going to ignore her and carry on. So there have been some really cool stories about how businesses have been innovative, and in some cases just darn lucky in being able to stay afloat. And one of the stories that comes to mind that I thought was just like, wow, is about the Shaw Festival. So the Shaw Festival is just a great theater in Niagara-on-the-Lake. We all know it. We've all gone. We all love it. They actually had the foresight to take out, get this, pandemic insurance 3 years ago. Like, who would have thought?
Pandemic insurance?
Yeah, but they took out pandemic insurance 3 years ago, and it allowed them to keep 500 people employed. And because of that, they were able to provide us with some great virtual shows. Eduardo, can you not speak to the insurance part, because that's just luck. That's incredible. But can you talk a little bit about the impact of an attraction like the Shaw Festival to the town? Oh, you're on mute, my friend.
Sorry. I was just saving our audience from my dog's barks.
Dogs everywhere.
So yes, of course. Listen, the show it's one of our two main drivers of the town. We have the wineries and culture. The show is the main representative of culture. But we also have Bravo Niagara, the Palm House, Music Niagara, the Jazz Festival, all these, the museum, all these cultural institutions that have reinvented themselves. And I will not go to talk about the insurance of the show, because it's also foresight and the incredible work of Tim Jennings as head of the CEO of the show. We have two teams, Tim Carroll and Tim Jennings. Tim Carroll doing the artistic direction, and Tim Jennings the management of the show festival, and fantastic team. And Tim Jennings was able to foresee a little bit and get into. He was also lucky to have. Now it's impossible to have pandemic insurances. It's right. Unaffordable, but it was affordable at that time, and they did great. The show and the other cultural institutions represent one of the main drivers to Niagara-on-the-Lake, and they have reinvented themselves in many ways. They have also suffered the fact that they have to cancel and restart, cancel and restart, and this is very difficult. But I was talking a little bit about Bravo Niagara Amplified section, the series that they have done, and it's fantastic. Every Friday you have concerts, and the quality of these concerts and the quality of the artists that they're bringing, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what they're doing. Same thing for the show, reinventing themselves into music, into other things, and at the same time providing to their artists the possibility to express themselves. There is an enormous frustration in the artists that they cannot. An artist lives for the public, lives for performing, and not being able to perform, not being able to act, to sing, to play. It's very difficult. So all our cultural institutions have been fantastic, allowing the artists to continue to be artists, to continue to play, to continue to perform, to continue to show their works of art. The Palm House has gone well over all their possibilities to be able to do that. And they have been supported by grants from FedDev, grants from different levels, and of course wage subsidies and all that. But they have been doing great. I can't thank them more for keeping the spirit alive, for keeping the flame alive. It's a fantastic job. I have to say that the wineries, our other driver, have also gone over and beyond what they can do to have. They have reimagined their experiences. They have completely reimagined their experiences, and the result has been an intimate wine tasting that, as I was saying before, I hope that it's here to stay, and the appreciation that many of their actual customers didn't have before, of that experience of buying BQA wines, which are 100% local, and that support from the local community has been fantastic. This is something that we haven't talked too much about it in this conversation, but the support from local communities to our businesses, it has been fantastic. And it's difficult because in our case, 18,000 residents cannot make up for 3.5 million tourists.
Right.
But nevertheless, the support from the local community for local cultural institutions, for local wineries, for local restaurants, for local businesses in general, retailers, has been overwhelming and fantastic. and we can't thanks our community more for that support.
Yeah, the wineries have really done a good job. I must confess, I've done my part to support the local winery industry.
Good for you.
She doesn't have that many stairs.
But last year around this time, I discovered that I could order. All of the wineries had special cases of wine that you could order with a collection of different bottles that you could get, and they were delivering it to your home for free. So I thought about it. Wait a minute, I can order a case of wine from whatever winery I want with whatever bottles of wine I want, and they're going to bring it right to me. Like, have I died and gone to heaven? Like, what is this? But it was fantastic. And so I supported both wineries in Niagara-on-the-Lake and wineries in 20 Valley.
Good.
I loved it because I got to know some new wineries that I had never gone to before. And now I'm on all kinds of mailing lists, which I love because they're all doing some really cool things. And even last summer, some of the patios were open where you could go and just enjoy a glass of wine and sit, in the vineyards. And that is the beauty of Niagara. My God, for folks who've never been, when this is over, that you need to come and go to any winery, pick one. They're all beautiful, and enjoy a glass of wine and just sit and enjoy the beauty.
I call it rediscovering our own backyard.
Yes.
This is what we have been doing.
Yes.
Discovering our own backyard.
Right.
That sometimes we have gone through, maybe cross in front of a restaurant that we never stop because we don't think it, and because we're used to see it, so we don't stop. So suddenly we have rediscovered many of our businesses, many of our restaurants and vineyards and cultural events and exhibitions and performances and plays and concerts that we just didn't care because we were used to have it.
Yeah, so, you're right. It's Niagara Falls. I mean, the falls in Niagara, right? It's spectacular. But many of us locals, when was the last time you actually drove and parked and walked to see the falls? But in the past year, many of us have, because there's nothing else to do. And so you're right, you rediscover what's in your own backyard. And wow, if you haven't been in a while, it's spectacular. Better than I remembered. So yeah, good points. John, I wanna ask you, so the city of Thorold is one of 3 here in Niagara that is part of a partnership with the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority. So it was big news when it was announced. It was something that we had all been hoping for. And of course, the 3 communities are Thorold, Welland, and Port Colborne, the communities that the Welland Canal actually runs through. What kind of impact do you think that partnership with HOPA will have on your community and your members?
I think that once it was great news to the city of Thorold because the Ontario had been closed, that a number of employees has been closed, and that I think once the Hamilton Port Authority gets going, and I was talking to Larissa in Hamilton, Jeremy Dunn's secretary there, and that they're getting new tenants more and more. Okay, and I think that once we can get out, like I said, back to the normality, that we can see these people in person, to get them settled, we're going to get quite a few members. And with the members, them being members of our chamber and our board, and then with the e-blast and all that, I think it will benefit the city of Thorold and up the Seaway all the way along greatly, I think. And that, but again, till we get back to normality, we've been trying to, see people, but it's hard to go see people. They don't want to see you and all that. But once we get back to normal, we get these members, I think it's going to benefit everybody all the way along the Seaway, and even our members, because they'll know what's there, what they can do, if it's can help them and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a great investment, and it was a great announcement. And
Yeah.
that's really the beauty of Niagara, isn't it? I mean, how many different things have we talked about? You know, we've talked about attractions, we've talked about, you know, wineries, we've talked about the ports. I mean, it's such a diverse region. And that's why, you know, while we all manage chambers in different communities, you know, you think the work is all the same, but it's really not. It's just different enough that it does make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, it will. Like, and I said, this would be a great thing coming down the road, and then if they can the governments can ever get together and do that Highway 20 bypass. Remember, they've been talking about it for what, 20, 25 years. Like, you know, I think it'll be even greater news, and it's great potential, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Denise, your membership, you have a lot of mom and pop shops, which really is the backbone for many of us. What are you hearing from them? What's going on with them?
Well, there are some that have suffered. There's no question, like, you know, nail salons, restaurants, things of that nature. But I'm finding that more and more of these smaller businesses are resilient. They are thinking and doing things outside the box. You know, you talk about the digital way of helping to grow their business and things like that. And I think that more of them are reaching out to do those types of things. And I also sort of acknowledge that the cost of having to do what some of these businesses have to do, the dentist offices and massage therapists and you know, the various safety precautions that they have to entail. My goodness, I was in them and I couldn't believe what I saw. But, you know, the cost for that, I can imagine what it would be. And I'm sure that the grants and supports cover it. But they are doing what they need to do to keep going. And interestingly enough, on the other hand, the larger businesses that we have in Smithville or West Lincoln, they're busy. Some of them are busier than ever, and to the point that they can't get enough labor to support. You know, we've got a couple of pretty big businesses in West Lincoln, and they're needing labor. So you get it sort of from one end to the other. And I think in most of the cases, though, that they will be resilient. The businesses, they are going to get through this. And they will come back. I really do believe that.
Yeah, you make a really good point. There are a number of industries that are busier than ever. Mm-hmm. And next week, we're going to be focusing on that a little bit. You know, we know construction and parts of manufacturing, and even some of the not-for-profits are super busy. And we're hearing from our job developers in the region that there are more jobs than there are people. So it's going to be an interesting problem that we have moving forward. And I think, Eduardo, you can chime in as well. But I think that once things get rolling again and we reopen and our tourism businesses, you know, can reopen and, you know, people start flowing again to Niagara Falls and Niagara on the Lake and the rest of Niagara, I think the biggest issue they're going to have is labor because you know, a lot of those folks have been out of work and they've moved on to other jobs in different types of industries. And I think labor is going to be a challenge for the tourism industry. Eduardo, what do you think?
Definitely, it will. And we have been advocating through different associations, through the OCC, to TIAG for support on retraining and hiring, because as you said, many of the people move on and change industries. So we're going to have a lack of labor labor that was already trained. So we need to retrain or train new labor. This is also an opportunity. This is also an opportunity for younger people to get into the business. One of the purposes of tourism all across Canada is to create middle class jobs. So it's one of the main purpose of Destination Canada is to create those middle class jobs. So it's going to be a challenge, and probably this is going to be one of the main challenges, that we're going to face, because at the same time, as a short haul destination that we are poised to recover first than the rest of the industry, and so that will be a challenge for sure. But I have to tell you that I prefer to have that challenge than not to have it, because that will mean that we're recovering.
Definitely.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would think too, we've been hearing a little chatter about healthcare and how, folks who've been working throughout healthcare during the pandemic are really burned out, and that we're going to see a lot of people leaving that industry and moving to something else, and that we could be in for a real shortage in healthcare as well, which is a little scary, but might make for an interesting conversation. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be a very good one. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things with when we do get back to normal. That there'll be a lot of positives, but there's going to be a lot of challenges too. And we're getting a little tight on time here, so I thought maybe we could just leave and with one question. And Dolores, I'll ask you this as well for all of you in your positions. You've had to, I know a lot of people hate this word, but you've had to pivot, you've had to change the way you do business for your members. What's the one thing that you think you're going to hold on to from what you've had to do during this last year that has worked well? John, let's start with you.
I hope we can hang on to our memberships as much as possible. That's number one. and like I said, then it's going to be challenging. Like you said, once this is over, there's going to be a lot of changes. Nobody knows. It's we don't have a crystal ball what's going to happen. But I mean, the one thing that we're going to doing, like I said before, we're going to keep working with our members, try to grow our membership, and through our own memberships alone, and also I know we discussed with the Niagara Chamber Partnership, the associate member. I mean, that's all we can do is promote, and that's it. But nobody knows what's going to happen. And how long is this going to last? I mean, if we all knew how long it's going to last, well, then we can do something, but we could be heading for another shutdown, Yeah,
well, there's no way to know, but thank you, John. And Denise, for you, has there been anything in particular that you've done in this last year that has been, successful and you'll continue to do?
Well, we're going to continue to stay the course, of course, with the virtual events to support the members' business development. I mean, we had to cancel some pretty big events last year, our free community barbecue, our business awards. We even do a home show. And, so we had to cancel all of that. But one of the things that we did continue on with, and I'm really happy that we did, our business directory, just to show you that, our 2021-2022 edition, a list of all of our members, and we talk about all of our Niagara Chamber Partnership chambers as well. So that's been a big success for us and very much wanted within our community, and with the objective, of course, of supporting the businesses and having them shop local and, do what they can to keep things going that way. But I think one of the other important things in moving forward, our relationship with our 9 chambers that we've spoken to throughout this event through the Niagara Chamber Partnership has just been absolutely wonderful. It's just been engaging and nurturing. And we're taking what we are learning from this and the experiences that we are learning. We brainstorm new products and ideas to do what we can to support our member businesses in all of our 9 communities. And it doesn't matter whether it's in agriculture or in theater or whatever it is. We are here for the businesses. And, in working with, Dolores and our entire team, we're putting together some excellent events We have one coming up on the 18th of May, so you want to save that date. And you're going to be hearing everything that you should be hearing, all about our associate membership, a very cost-effective product to help expand business development for businesses. And then we have another one coming up, Niagara Recovery, on the Road to Recovery. And that's going to be a 5-series event, and it will start June 1st, every Tuesday, June 1st, on topical issues of various sectors in business components. Dolores can speak a little more to that. That would start June 1st on every Tuesday right to the end of the month. So save those dates as well, because I think you'll be pleasantly pleased at what you hear in these next series.
Great. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. Eduardo, you gave some thumbs up there during Denise's comments. So
yeah, absolutely. Denise, you read my mind, and I'm glad the connection between the NCP is so good. If there's something that we're going to keep on going, is that promoting the NCP, that Niagara Chamber partnership. And Denise already mentioned the event, and I hope that Dolores will make the point on those. But it's and probably the other thing that we're going to have for the rest of our life is Zoom or any similar platform. So hopefully will not be abused by Zoom, but it's here to stay. There are many things that are here to stay, and the way we do business has changed in many aspects. The way we pack meetings in one day has changed because of the technology, and that's probably here to stay in many ways. Even if we go back to board in-person board meetings, but it has been very practical to keep on doing. When the pandemic started in 2020, our first board was canceled. The board meeting was canceled. And then the second, I say, no, we cannot keep on canceling. Mm-hmm. We went online. We went on Zoom or similar and try to manage that. And that has been very helpful. And probably this is something that is here to stay. So for me, 2 things to retain: that new way of packing meetings and be very efficient, and the NCP. The NCP is probably one of the best things that we can promote in the Niagara region with the Niagara Chambers, and for our communities and for the benefits of our members. And we're going to do a formal launch of all that. And in our case, it's going to call the NCP membership. It's the associate NCP membership, and it's a fantastic tool for networking at regional level.
Thank you. All right, and Dolores.
All right. Well, I think Eduardo was right. I think moving forward, it is really going to be a blend of digital platforms and in-person events. For every person that we talk to who says, I'm so done with digital platforms, I want to see people in person, I want to get out there, I want to get back in the office, I don't like this. We have, someone who says, I absolutely love the digital platforms, I never want to go back to the office, I'm so much more efficient. So we know it's going to be a combination of both. For meetings, yeah, certainly, when you can get in person and shake a person's hand, it's easier to make connections. But in terms of efficiency, you know that an hour Zoom meeting is an hour. It's not a half hour, 15 minutes to get to the meeting and then the same amount of time to get back to your office. And, the chit chat before and after, an hour is an hour. And so in terms of efficiency, it's important. And I think too, even with just some of our learning forums, the digital platform does seem to work well because, if it's a lunch and learn, people hop on, they can eat their lunch, they can learn something, and then, they're still at their desk and they can get back to work. For some of our networking events, it's got to be in person. It just doesn't work the same way virtually. So I think that we are going to have Zoom brain for a long, long time to come, but it will be a combination of both. And I do want to speak to the NCP just a little bit. These guys have all mentioned it, and that's fantastic. So NCP is the Niagara Chamber Partnership, which is a partnership of the 9 local chambers. And get ready, that includes Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, Welland, Pelham, Niagara-on-the-Lake, Thorold, Lincoln,